In this video, we're talking about the 7 elements a story can have. This too will help you figure out if your story is newsworthy and also how newsworthy. The 7 elements of a story are timeliness, meaning it's either new or there's a new development or reason to be talking about in an old story. Proximity. People are more interested in news that's around them rather than farther away from them. That's why it can be difficult to get viewers to care about stories from overseas, because they don't understand how a story from all the way over there affects them right here. This is also where you'll hear of what's called nimby stories, or not in my backyard stories, that you may do about new proposed landfills, prison, a Walmart going in, or even a payday loan shop being built. Many neighbors don't want these things, and you'll cover the heated city council meetings with lots of public debate. That leads us to impact or consequence. If the story will improve someone's life, or someone's life was changed, then it has impact or consequence. If the viewer is left still looking for a reason to care or emotionally connect to the story, then obviously the story doesn't have it. Next up is novelty or rarity. These were always my favorite because these are the odd stories that people always remember, like how an elementary school had been misspelling the name of its school for years, and on everything from signs to letterhead to even some of the t-shirts. I'll leave links to some of these stories down below, including this one. To give you a direct definition of stories with novelty and rarity, they are typically what you would consider to be light features, though they can be hard features too. Like the old cliche goes, if a dog bites a man, it's not news. But if a man bites a dog, that's definitely news. Another element is conflict, and I would say that there is natural conflict in every story, though conflict can be positive. When you do stories about athletes training for championships or a local Olympian training for the Olympics, like this story I did, the conflict is the journey because it defines what the character is trying to obtain. Human interest is also an element, and it's no secret that stories about people are the most watched and engaging because people relate most easily to other people. These can be light features or hard features as well. A good example of a hard feature story was after the Dallas shooting the summer of 2016. Days after the shooting, the Dallas police chief himself became a story because viewers as well as journalists became interested in the city's top cop, because they would see him every day headlining a news conference. So a couple of days later, the media did a hard feature about him and how he came up through the Dallas police ranks. Another hard feature happened a few years earlier when the first man to ever have Ebola in the US was discovered in Dallas. There were obvious questions about where he came from, how he originally got Ebola, how he ever got on a plane to America, then who did he interact with, and could he have passed Ebola on to somebody else? And you can see here how easily the list of questions went on the more somebody thought about the story. In fact, there was a secondary hard feature news story done on one of the nurses taking care of him who got Ebola from him. Her symptoms were caught early and they were able to get her medical attention long before this gentleman, who is known now as Patient Zero. And he got that label because he was the first ever to have it in this case. This is all to tell you that finding these elements in your story is easy. No need to think too hard about this. They should present themselves naturally. If you find yourself overthinking this or trying to shoehorn them in or try to force it, so to speak, it's probably not a part of your story. The last element is prominence, and all that is a fancy way of saying somehow, in some way, a celebrity or a person in power. And those are the 7 elements that can make up a story. Obviously, you don't need all 7 to have a story, but the more you have, the better. And with that though, keep in mind, all you need is 1. If you have any questions about this as you're researching and vetting your stories, please feel free to reach out. I'll see you in the next video.